some questions, which I had emailed you as well, if you had a chance
I
to
had looked at the
see
questions.
that and kind of think about some of that. Figure it's easier if you get a little bit of advance notion of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
we
I had
had-
looked at the questions that you had sent.
Yeah, we've had a project going for off and on for several years of just talking with especially some of the old timers in the neighborhood, since they're getting older, may not be around for that much longer, and we've done a few here and there. Different people have done them, and we interviewed one other person who Don and I did, who did grow up in the neighborhood as you did, but more so it's tended to be people who've been in homes, since in the 1960s or
Yeah.
earlier in the 50s, and they've stayed here, and they're maybe in their 80s at this point.
Who was the other person that you interviewed that had grown up here?
Oh, Joanne Lee. She is not
Lee.
here now. She had moved away for a number of years and then came back. She was in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
She came back to kind of take over her parents' house, and she thought she was going to live here, and she didn't like it here. She decided to return to Charlotte, but she was here long enough that that she was involved in the neighborhood association. And
Is she Chinese?
Yeah,
Okay, then
She's on Frontage Road.
up a ways here.
up a little ways. Yeah, Mr. and Ms. Lee owned a 7-Eleven up on Price,
Yeah.
just down from Anderson Street School.
Yeah,
Their son and Adam and I had been friends for years.
yeah.
In fact, we went to Anderson Street School together. And Ms. Lee didn't know until I probably would say maybe 10 years ago, when she and I were talking, that occasionally Ab and I would skip school. It would be towards the end of the school day, but we would skip what was left of the school day and go to the store. And his dad knew. So I imagine that Adam and his dad, Mr. Lee, had probably talked.
Yeah. Joanne is a bit older, I think. But,
Yes, Joanne. If memory serves me right, there were three. Adam was the youngest. Mary is the middle, and then Joanne was the oldest.
Yeah. So anyway, we managed to speak with her before she left again. We have a permission sheet for you to sign to participate in this, which Don could read, just so that you're aware of what's being done with the recordings and so forth.
Okay.
I, your name, of the address, Savannah, Georgia, 31405. We know what all of these are. Give the Kensington Park Community Association the recordings of my interview conducted on this date. I understand that the KPCA will use all or part of my interviews as they choose for their oral history project of the Kensington Park neighborhood. I transfer to the Kensington Park Community Association all legal, title, and literary property rights that I have or may be deemed to have, via the interview. Upon completion of the project, the association will keep the recordings of my interview indefinitely on a computer or some other permanent storage device, but will, upon my request, supply me with a copy of the interview.
Okay.
Legal sounding enough without
Yes.
aware of and so on, but yes. Anyway, the point is, people will get rather fussy, but during the interview, of course, if you want to say, this I don't want to share, or for that matter, I don't want to answer because it's too personal. Or whatever,
you don't want to talk
That's
about
fine.
something.
That's fine.
There's always that.
Given what we do for a living, working with people doing qualitative interviews, there are lots of things said off the record, that kind of thing.
Yeah. As a history major, when I was at Armstrong, we did some of the oral histories at the Mighty Eighth Museum.
Oh, sure.
So I'm well acquainted and aware of how that goes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
'Cause many of them have now passed on.
Sure.
There's still a few left at the Mighty Eighth, but
Mm-hmm.
not even a handful are left, unfortunately.
So, anyway, we have that for you to sign before we get going here. And
Yeah, I suppose we're going to do that. Do I have? Yeah, I got a pen.
You can fill it in, Don,
here's the
and
date. Let's fill in.
Mhm.
you can use that table right there beside you.
Yeah, I'm going to go, let's see, how about the marble here? And then
Yeah, that would be all right as well.
Interviewee. So today is the 21st.
Yes.
Pretty much the way I have the living room is how my mother had it.
Mm-hmm.
The sofa against the wall where you are, Marj, with two end tables. Unfortunately, I don't have her sofa or the end tables that she had. She had, at one time, when I don't remember it, but she had a Duncan Fife sofa and Duncan Fife end tables. And the end tables, when she had gotten bad enough from the Alzheimer's that I had to put her in a nursing home, my uncle came in and sold most of the stuff, which I was not happy about.
Yeah, I bet not.
I was able to manage to save some things.
We have your pad there.
Oh, sure.
Just for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's this thing. And just
Put my finger where you need me to sign.
yeah, there. Yeah. So you have a more organized. Yeah, since my name starts with a D as well. Two different D's, but they both look like D's actually.
Okay, I think we should put the recorder over closer to you.
It is.
David,
It's
so
on a.
that-
What's the?
He's.
in front of
I think Don put it on the.
But yeah,
ottoman.
Somebody just has to hit record here.
I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're
go.
going? All right. Okay, well, speaking for myself, here across to the tape recorder, I'm Marj Schneider, and who are you?
David M. Newman.
I'm actually pointing at Don first.
Oh,
Who am I?
You need to say who you are as the interviewer.
As an interviewer,
Yeah.
as one of the interviewers.
Yes.
Okay, Don Moss.
And today's date is
2/21/17, February 21st, 2007.
now. David, if you could tell us your name and the address that where we are located.
David Mark Newman. The address is 309 East Durin Drive.
Okay, and we are here to talk about Kensington Park because you are somebody who grew up in this neighborhood. So maybe you can start by telling us about your family's move to the neighborhood. And were they already in Savannah? Were you born? How old were you, if you were? And just that sort of thing. What brought about the move to Kensington Park?
Well, they had friends that had first bought here, Pete and Mac McCullough. They had bought down at 317 East Durin. And that was the first house built in Kensington. That was in 1950. This one was built also in 1950, and this was a second house that was built out here. So actually, my parents were the second to buy. In fact, from what they told me, the house was still just a frame when they came and looked at several of the designs. And this was the one that they liked the best, which has a living room, dining room combination with a kitchen off the hall, or off the dining room, central hall, and 3 main bedrooms. But it was still under construction when they bought it. The deed actually says 1951. I guess that's when it was actually completed. But they had took out a 30-year loan with Palmer and Kay to get the house. And at that time, the house was only they cost like $15,000 back then. And that's how they came out here. They were living down in the Victorian district. I believe my mother said they were living at 309 West 31st. When they, Pete and Mac had talked to them about checking out here. And they liked the area. At that particular time, Durin Avenue was just a 2-lane street going east and west. And from what I understand, this whole area here, Kensington Park, Oakdale, Fairway Oaks, even Magnolia Park, was what was called Kensington Dairies. So, Vernon Nowell, y'all may have heard of him. He's a local, or was a local architect. Also friends of my parents. He, with another, I guess a partner of his, bought the whole area where Kensington is and began the development. Most of the houses were done by Vernon. And so most of them are his designs. This was one of the first designs. 317 is just a little bit up off the ground, not by much. Most of the other houses have a good crawl space up underneath. Unfortunately, 317 does not. But
so what years were those the houses around yours then being built? Do you recall?
My aunt, whom y'all had briefly sort of met, she and my mother's brother, my uncle, bought over on Oxford in 56. My parents had talked them into coming out here. Like I had begun to mention, Durin Avenue was the southern boundary at that particular time. By the time that the YMCA was built on Habersham, the southern boundary was Stuyvesant Avenue. And that's also where Memorial Baptist Church was built, was right next door. Actually, the church was built before the YMCA. That didn't get there until about anywhere between 62 and 65, I think. Somewhere in that area is when the Y was built.
Well, you talk about your parents, not only their thoughts, but talking to someone else to moving out here. I mean, yeah, talk about that meaning of out here. I mean, how it was like abandoning the city, or it was escaping
Well,
the city, or what?
No, it wasn't exact. I don't think it was a abandoning of downtown. They just wanted a different, I guess you could say, a venue to raise kids.
Mm-hmm.
I was born here in Savannah at the old Taylor Fair unit down on Park Avenue. One of the last few that was born there. Next door was a lawyer friend, Lure Beckman. That they were friends with my parents, and Lure had asked my parents if they were interested in adopting. So that's how I came into the story. They adopted me in 1959. I was born in May, and they brought me home in August of 59, and in September of 60, the adoption was finalized. I'm one of the older of the kids that grew up here. There were, in fact, I think Arthur Haseman is a year or two younger than me, but I had about a year or so ago heard that he had moved back into his parents' house over on Reynolds, just before you get to Reynolds Circle. His father was Moses Haseman. His mother was Helen Haseman. He was a good friend of mine. Several of the others, just down the street. I had a aunt and uncle that lived at the end at 601 Duran Drive, and right next to them was a friend of mine, Billy McLeod. That he and I would play together. He grew up here as well. There were many of us kids that lived out here, grew up, went to the Kensington Park pool, to the Y. Some were even members of the German Inn Country Club out in Bonabella. My parents joined out there because of me, and because of some other friends of theirs who were members out there. But a lot of us kids, we either played street football or lot football. There were 2 or 3 lots that didn't have a house built on them, or the people that owned the house had a double lot. So they allowed us kids to play on the part of the lot that wasn't being used for living purposes. Some of us, like Bobby Hart, Jack Mayfield, Chris Stewart, Keith Crosby, and 1 or 2 of his brothers, Phil Teague, Chris Robinson, myself, and several others, including some that lived in Oakdale. We always got together and played, usually lot football or street football. If somebody had a basketball court or a basketball backboard and such, we would play. But it was a good time.
Yeah.
In that. Everybody knew everybody else. Most of the I still would say that the older ones that still live here probably remember me by name. Maybe not so much as by sight now, but by name, because they knew my parents.
Sure.
And also, my mother, another way that they knew my parents is that my mother belonged to the garden club.
Oh, I'm sure.
The azaleas that you still see on Waters Road are all that's left of the azaleas that the garden club from that time had planted. Out in front here on Durin, going from Abercorn to Waters was all planted with azaleas, pine trees, and there was a space between the pine trees where us kids could ride our bikes through. It's like a little trail. It kept us busy
Yeah.
and out of trouble.
Sure.
It also, even back then, Durin was very busy as a 2-lane street, and the azaleas and the pines blocked most of the noise from Durin Avenue. So it was it acted as a sound buffer,
Yeah.
which was really good. And I wish, I don't know whether Kensington now still has a garden club or not, but I wish they would at least plant a lot more plants, whether azaleas, ligustrums, or whatever, down along Durin to help block some more of the sound.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of that planting in more recent times has been city planting
Yeah.
as opposed to, I don't know how long there was a garden club for some years, but I think it's been gone now for a while.
Yeah, we've heard mention of it before, but
Oh, yeah, for
not
sure.
when it ended, if it did officially end, but I assume it has by now.
I know that my mother still had belonged to it even after I had graduated high school. She didn't do a whole lot because when I turned 10, she went back to work. But she had stayed home with me for 10 years.
So since this house is, the second house built in the neighborhood,
Yes.
do you have any memory or sense of the neighborhood filling in with houses and any changes that brought?
As I was growing up, yes. More and more of the houses and streets were being filled in. I somewhat remember my mother walking with me, or even pushing me in a stroller or whatever, to Kensington Park Pool. Sometimes to take me to the pool. I'd play in the baby pool while the older kids were in the main pool.
Yeah.
And then I took swimming lessons, of course, out there. And I completed those swimming lessons at the Y, but
So I would assume, as you remembering going through the neighborhood like that there would not be a house, and then one would start to go up somewhere.
Yes.
Because it seems like that would have been the case, since so many were built during the 50s and somewhat into the 60s.
most were built, I probably would say during the late 50s, all the way through the 60s. Many of them were built during the 60s that filled in, going all the way back towards Oakdale.
Mm-hmm. Right, because I know one couple we interviewed, theirs I think was Neil and Phyllis. I think theirs was 66 or something like that. And that I believe they had mentioned that Kensington Drive wasn't even paved at that time. Do you remember that when you go up to the pool, if Kensington was paved?
Actually, it was paved that I remember.
Yeah.
There's a section of Varn that wasn't paved, and Camelot wasn't paved when I was growing up. But most of the streets were paved.
Yeah.
Even Durin Drive was paved at that time. It wasn't until I was in my late teens that they even started putting in curbs and a few sidewalks.
Okay, so what year? Your late teens?
That was 70s.
70s, okay.
I graduated in 78 from Memorial Day School. I probably would say they started doing curbs and sidewalks probably around 70, 71 is when they started doing that. Here on Durin Drive, the 300 block is the only block that I know of that doesn't have any curbs. There may be a section of the 700 block that doesn't. I don't exactly remember at the moment. I haven't walked down that far lately.
Yeah.
Other than walking down to Kensington Plaza or shopping center.
Yeah, where the bakery is. So, you mentioned going to Memorial Day School. What other schools did you go to? Was Hurd Elementary in there?
Hurd was the only elementary out in this area, other than Hancock. Granted, good boy. Other than Hancock Day School, which was over on Skidaway, they were right beside Southside Baptist.
Oh.
In fact, when they had a graduation, they held their graduation at Southside Baptist. But Hancock is not even there anymore. In fact, I don't think it even exists anymore.
Yeah, I haven't heard the name of the current school.
Even at that, they only went up to, I think, 5th or 6th, aside from the kindergarten.
So where did you attend?
I attended Hurd 1st through 5th grade.
Okay.
And then at 6th grade, they started busing, and I went to Anderson Street School then. Myself, Adam Lee, from here, and then there were several other people that I knew that lived a little bit further south from us, from like Mike Disher, who lived over on Jackson Boulevard. He went as well. And there were a few others. Some from Havisham Woods, and some from a little further out.
So what was Hurd like at that time? How many classes were there? What kind of number of...
It was 1st through 6th grade then. I'm assuming it's probably still 1st through 6th.
Something like that. They changed it a couple of times, and they really pack them in there too. And I don't know how many, which grades for sure are there right now.
But I was one of the shortest in my classes at Hurd. At that particular time, Mary F. Dunn, D-U-N-N, was the principal at Hurd, and I would have to say she was one of the principals that I really mostly respect. She's probably gone now, but she was old even then. She had to have been at least in her 60s or so at the time that I attended Hurd. But she was one of the most widely respected in the area. There was like 3 first grades, 2 second grades, 2 thirds, and so on, up to 6th grade. And there were 2 6th grades when I was in 4th. at which when I reached 5th grade, that's when they had really began to start, or were going to start, the busing kids from Hurd to downtown. And I spent my 6th grade at Anderson, and then my mother pulled me out of that and put me in Pathway Day, which was down at Durin Church of God, which is now where Food Lion is.
Oh.
And I spent 7th, 8th, and 9th there, and then went to Memorial when they started up a school back there.
Did you walk over there when you went to Hurd?
I rode my bike.
Yeah, rode your bike. Did you come home for lunch? Kind of thing?
No, they didn't allow us to do that.
Oh.
The school hours at that time were from 8 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was from 8:30 to 3, but they preferred the kids to get there at 8.
Mm-hmm.
That way we had 30 minutes to socialize and settle down before class began. We had a nice big lunchroom where they had, you could either buy lunch, which at least during the middle of the week on Wednesdays was a mystery meat day. But they had a structured lunch, which was always prepared, which you could buy lunch or you could bring your lunch, and then buy orange juice, milk, or you could get water from the fountains. They didn't sell sodas
Right.
at the school. At least one day out of the week, we would have hamburgers and hot dogs. That was usually on a Friday. But
Yeah, sounds pretty typical of lunches of the time.
yeah, we would have sometimes there would be spaghetti. Sometimes there would be meatloaf. Like I said, on Wednesdays it was usually mystery meat. We never knew what the meat was. I think usually Tuesdays there was like roast beef, and they would have either mac and cheese, butter beans, or mashed potatoes that we could get with the with the lunch. They also did have sandwiches. You could get a ham sandwich, peanut butter and jelly, or you could get a grilled cheese. If you didn't bring a lunch. Something like that they would have like maybe on a Thursday or a Monday.
Well, you're the first male who grew up here that we talked to. What would be an adventure? In the neighborhood or elsewhere?
Would you go somewhere else for an adventure?
Well, when the YMCA was built, a lot of us kids went there. It had a pool, which I'm assuming it still does.
Mm-hmm.
They also had tennis courts, and out behind there and behind Memorial Baptist Church was a big wooded area with a ditch that eventually emptied out into the Casey Canal. And a lot of us kids would go out and play in the woods, or we would go hiking in the woods. You could actually go from the Y all the way to Jackson and Jackson Boulevard and Beauregard streets, going through the woods. I don't know whether you can do that now or not, and I probably would lose my way now.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, in there, it's pretty blocked. I mean, you could sort of do it, I think, and I don't know if it's less woodsy than it was at that time,
Yeah.
but it's certainly not easy access.
But at that time, that's where we played. If we didn't play at one of each other's houses, sometimes we would have little. I guess you would still call it. Well, for some people, they would call it slumber parties. We usually called it sleepovers.
Sure.
As far as the guys are concerned.
Right.
I would sleep at a friend's house, or two or three of us would get together at a friend's house and sleep over. I remember one time over at the Wombles, over on Havisham, myself, Chris Robinson, and one of the youngest of the not the youngest, but the next to the youngest, who was our age. Of the Womble boys, slept over there out in this I guess you would call it a playhouse or whatever that they had in the backyard, and we would have a good time. Have snacks, drinks, dares.
Sure.
I won't get into the dares.
Boy stuff.
Yeah. That sort of thing that boys would dare each other to do. But it was all in good fun. Growing up, we had a lot of fun. There are some houses that we would TP. Dawn, you probably remember something about that. Mm-hmm. Toilet paper somebody's house.
Oh. Yeah.
We would do that. Of course, the people that lived at whatever house got hit pretty much knew who it was that did it, but it was all done in fun.
Was this largely Halloween? Or when?
It could have. A house could have gotten hit at any time during the year. Whether it was Halloween or whether it was during the summer, or whenever. You just never know when a house was going to get hit. A few people, a few of the kids went a little further and would egg. I was not part of that, but I know who did. But we never ratted on anybody.
Yeah, the problem with that is
and
it's on the car paint, and it can,
yeah.
Yeah.
Usually if somebody got egged, some house got egged or a car or whatever, it was somebody we didn't like. That was basically the way it was. The TPing was all in good fun. A little exasperating for other parents because they had to climb up in the trees and get the toilet paper out.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait for a heck of a strong
wind to blow it down.
Wind, yeah. So were there any sort of, I know with new houses this word doesn't really apply, mystery houses, but somebody moved in and they were always of interest and you maybe did or didn't learn too much about them?
Most of Kensington was Jewish. Mm-hmm. There were some Protestant families. There were a few Catholic families. My friend Chris Robinson, his family was Catholic. The Wagners that lived right next door and had bought the house from the Lure Beckman and his wife, Dolores, they were Jewish. like Havisham Woods, most of Kensington was Jewish.
When was the synagogue built?
The synagogue, most of the people here went over to Congregation of B'nai B'rith Jacob,
Okay.
is where most of them went. I had never been in B'nai B'rith. In fact, the only synagogue I've ever been in is Mick of Israel, which is the only synagogue in Savannah. In fact, I think it's the only one in the country that is built in a Gothic style. But it's also I think, the oldest synagogue here in Savannah. I think is what Mick of Israel is.
Oh, yeah.
So your parents then also attended that?
No, my parents grew up as Baptists.
Okay.
They attended Bull Street
Mhm.
Baptist, and Memorial Baptist Church, when it was begun, was an offshoot, a missionary Baptist church from Bull Street.
Yep. Yeah, I grew up Southern Baptist, in a
Yeah,
little farm church in Virginia.
I grew up Southern Baptist. Later in my adult years, I switched from Southern Baptist to Catholic, and have since then switched to what's now called pagan. I believe in the old gods and goddesses,
Ah, okay.
just not the sacrifices.
If you think about what it was like growing up here as a child and you'd go to other parts of town, were there things about Kensington Park that were different or that were, just unique to this area compared to the rest of Savannah?
Like with some of the older neighborhoods, Victorian District, in as such, where my parents grew up, people knew each other. If one of us kids did something wrong, all a parent had to do was pick up the phone and call that kid's parent. And that did happen. If it was something major. If it was, something minor, then the other parents in the neighborhood would discipline us. I know that, firsthand. I've been one of those kids that had been disciplined by other parents for minor things.
Yeah.
But if it was something major, then they would pick up the phone, call my parents, and of course I would get in trouble. But not many of us did anything major.
Do you think that was different from what it was like in other parts of Savannah? I think it was similar.
I probably would say that it was that was similar, probably like with the in the African American neighborhoods, where most of the everybody knew everybody, and here, like there, it took the old adage, it takes a village to raise a child, still applied. Well, it was the same thing here. It took basically the whole neighborhood to raise us kids. It was the same way in Fairway Oaks, Oakdale, Magnolia Park, Cokesbury. Was the same way going further east. Each neighborhood, the people knew each other. Some of us kids had friends that were in some of the other neighborhoods, whose those parents knew us too, or knew my parents, as well as some of the other kids. So there again, if there was a minor incident that happened or whatever, they would either discipline us, or they would, if it was major, they'd pick up the phone and call.
Sure.
I didn't see that growing up in Victorian District. My parents told me about how close it was in that area when they were growing up, but it was all fractured by the time I was able to ride my bike, or my dad would take me down to see his mother, my grandmother, that lived on Henry Street at that time. And there were several times that I would literally ride my bike downtown, 3 times to the Pirates' house to set up anniversary dinners for my parents. I don't know if any of my friends would do that, but I literally rode my bike down to the Pirates' house. And whatever money I had in my little piggy bank or I had saved up, I would take down there and literally set up a dinner for my parents. The only thing they had to do, and pay for the dinner as well. All they had to do was pick out their desserts and their drinks that they wanted to have with the dinner. But everything else was paid, including the tip.
Wow, so you frequently or sometimes would do that just for them? You didn't have like other guests, it was just them?
No, it was just my parents.
Yeah.
There are limits to a piggy bank.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's really thoughtful.
What
yeah.
did your dad do?
My dad was head clerk, chief in charge of transportation for the Seaboard Coastline Railroad.
Ah, okay.
Prior to them adopting me, my mother worked at Sears in the office there where they did the payroll and all that. In fact, she had worked for Sears as well as Belk's during World War II. And when my father was stationed up at Warner Robins, she moved up there and worked for Belk's up there at that time. Here, when Sears was down on Broughton, she worked for Sears. Even when Sears moved to Henry Street, that big yellow building there that is between Bull and Drayton.
Sure.
On Henry, that's where Sears moved to.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it had ever been on Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah, it moved there, and then '69 when Oglethorpe Mall was built, Sears and Belk's moved out there. They were the stationary department stores for the mall. And at that particular time, my mother wasn't working. From 59 to 69, she stayed home with me. And then she went back to work and worked for Siegel & Sons, which was over on Bull, where Mama's Furniture is now. That was the original building for Siegel & Sons. And then when Mr. and Ms. Siegel opened up another branch out by the mall, my mother went out there to that store. And she retired from Siegel & Sons.
So, you're starting to talk a bit about businesses. When you were growing up, where did you shop, and what businesses were in the immediate area around Kensington?
There was there were 2 shopping centers that were out here. The Kensington Shopping Center, which is down where Baker's Pride is, that was one of the places. It also had a dance studio where the Peoples twins, both Larry and Jerry and Carol and Merrill, learned to dance. There was even a where there is a restaurant there now. I don't know the name of the restaurant now, but there was a billiard place there at one time. Down in the Durin Shopping Center was a A&P Groceries at one time. That was the main store there, and then there was several other stores as well. Where CVS is now on Durin and Abercorn, that was all Crystals back in the 60s, late 60s. And I would sometimes walk down there with friends or even by myself and to get Crystals. Going east, a little further down from the Kensington Shopping Center, where the other CVS is now, and Sumitsu. I don't think Sumitsu is there anymore. It was one of the early computer stores. I don't think they're there anymore. But right there, where that store is and CVS, used to be Kelly's Burgers, where myself and other friends would go there sometimes and get burgers. You could get a whole meal for less than $1. You know, a cheeseburger or just a regular hamburger and a cheeseburger was like 75 cents. The drink and fries go along with it. You were up to about maybe 95, maybe $1. A little bit later, towards the end of them going out of business, they got up to about maybe $2 or $3 for a whole meal, but that's because they were trying to keep up with Burger King and McDonald's that came into the area.
Yeah.
Did you ever, in school and in high school, I assume, work at any of these places?
No, I didn't. My first job was down at the German and Country Club in Bonabella when I was 14. Prior to that, kids didn't get their Social Security cards until they actually did get a job. But because that was my first job, I had to get a Social Security card then. And my parents, did all the paperwork and all that for me. Because at 14, you don't know anything about that.
Sure.
Or at least not at that time.
Yeah.
I doubt kids, even at 14 now, most kids know much about it.
Sure.
But that was my first job there at the German and Country Club. I worked in the bowling alley there, where you literally had to pick up the pins and roll the balls back. And so, some of the people some of the other kids that would bowl out there, they threw some hard balls. I remember vividly a number of pins that would go whizzing by my head, hitting the brick wall behind me.
And this is kingpin, not duck pin.
No, this was old-fashioned bowling alley.
Right, but I mean with the heavy balls and the big pins, not the small pins.
Oh, no, not the small pins. These pins were, they would have weighed anywhere between 10 and 15 pounds. The bowling pin.
Yeah, well, off the ball is, yeah. Anyway, the point is, you had to get the heck out of the way.
Yes. I was never actually hit directly by the bowling pin, but other friends that worked there right along with me, they had gotten hit directly or indirectly, and it hurt.
Yeah.
But none of us got hit by the bowling balls, fortunately. But it was fun. At that particular time, I think minimum wage, I think I had made like $2.50 minimum wage at the bowling alley.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I began working at Belk's when I was in my early 20s, late teens and early 20s, that minimum wage was $3.25. And as a matter of fact, for a summer, no, it wasn't a summer. I worked at Siegel & Sons one Christmas, making about $2.75 an hour. While I was still I was a senior in high school. And it gave me good spending money. And then later I worked at Belk's at Oglethorpe Mall, as well as at Jarman's Shoes. That was my Jarman Shoes was my second major job, and I worked there for a summer and Christmas.
So you mentioned that you went to Armstrong. Did you then leave Savannah for a time?
I did. Right after high school, I went to Bruton Parker Junior College, majoring in history. And I spent a couple of years up there. And then...
Where is that school?
It's in Mount Vernon, Ailey, Georgia.
Okay.
Just outside of Toombs County, where Vidalia is.
Oh, okay.
In Mount Vernon and Ailey, you could literally have alcohol, where in Toombs County, which is where Vidalia is a dry county.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it's still a dry county.
Oh, it is.
Not to say that there are those that still have their stills.
Right. So you were there, and then did you come back?
I came back and worked a bit, and then about 1980 I started going to Armstrong,
Mm-hmm.
and went off and on there, still majoring in history.
Mm-hmm.
And when was it? It wasn't until I probably would say 89, maybe, that I did a stint over at Savannah Tech for small engine repair and landscaping,
Oh.
and got a certificate in small engine repair. But it was interesting.
Yeah. But you ended up then leaving Savannah also, right?
When I was working for a time at the Pink House, I think it was, or no, that was after Jarman's. I left there and did a stint in the Navy, and left Savannah for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Came back on shore leave, of course, because my parents were here and my family was here. But I lived in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, for during that time. Came back home after my stint in the Navy, and then worked at the Pink House for about 4 years, and then left there and moved up to Lexington, Kentucky for a bit, for a couple of years, then moved back. At that particular time that I was up in Kentucky, my father had gotten sick with cancer, lung cancer, and had passed. So I came home after that. And I've been back here ever since.
Yeah, so since in the 90s sometime? Or?
Yeah, my father died in 1990, September of 1990. In fact, it was September 20th, 1990, that my dad had died. And I lived with my mother for a time, and then she bought a trailer out at off of Old Whitfield in what used to be known as Babette's Trailer Park. Out off of Old Whitfield, Vernonburg area.
Uh-huh.
And I enjoyed it out there. It's a nice area. Bethesda Home for Boys is out there, and beautiful land. And one thing that I didn't mention earlier is that when my parents had adopted me, I was a Bethesda baby.
Oh, okay.
My birth mother, who was from a town surrounding Savannah, had gone through Bethesda to adopt me out. My birth father, from what I understand, was stationed at Hunter.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they did that sort of thing as well as being a school and I mean, I guess they've had a variety of roles throughout their history.
Oh yeah, Bethesda is actually the oldest orphanage in continuous use.
I learned that recently. Just in fact, the other day I was looking them up for another reason, and I learned that. It's pretty incredible. They've been at it for that long.
So I can make that claim that I am a Bethesda baby.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting.
They had a place for unwed mothers down on President Street, the 800 block of President Street, downtown, and they had a adoption center.
Mm-hmm.
There on what street is that? Where the Pirates House is.
What, East Main?
Well, it's at there at the end of East Bay and East Broad.
Sure.
Is where they had their adoption center for Bethesda.
Okay. So while your mother was living out in the Vernonburg area, then
No, I was.
You were, and she wasn't? Or?
She was living here.
Okay, you were out there.
And this was after my father had died.
Yeah.
While I was living here with my mother, I met my current partner.
Mm-hmm.
And moved out there where I could just simply walk to where he lived over in Sandfly.
Oh, okay. So she lived here then continuously since buying the house.
Yes.
Yeah. So over the years, did they make a lot of changes in the house and to the yard and all that? You
A little bit of
talked
changes.
Yeah, when you came in, you mentioned about that the back had been an open porch. Is that right?
It was a screened-in porch
Mm-hmm.
when I was little. And in the late 60s, early 70s, my dad enclosed the porch.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit later in the 70s, on into the 80s, well, actually it was the 70s. My dad extended the what then became when he enclosed the back porch, that became the den, and then he extended it in the 70s to make it a family room, and where the original porch was became the breakfast nook.
Oh.
And he designed it. At first, he had someone doing the work, building it, and a friend of his that lives or used to live a couple doors down, a couple doors east, had looked out his backyard and saw that the contractor wasn't doing it right. Called my father at work at Seaboard. He came home, looked at what the contractor was doing, fired him on the spot. And my dad took over and finished building the back room, which became the family room den. My dad had added on, or right in the extension, a bathroom off the den and a walk-in closet also that was right next to the bathroom. So my dad had the knowledge to do it all.
Yeah.
The only thing he hired done was the plumbing, as well as making, or I should say, doing the bricklaying for the fireplace that's in the den. That's the only thing that he hired done. Otherwise, he did the wiring. He put in the insulation. He put in the he cut the holes for the windows, the framing, all of that. My dad did.
Hey, you've got the ducts in the ceiling here, obviously.
Yeah.
But did the house always have air?
Not until the 80s. They had a floor furnace in the main hall, and they had a window air conditioner in the front room, which was the original den when I was growing up. And in the 80s, they finally put in central heat and air.
Did your mom do a lot of gardening out in the back or in the front?
They did. The 9 years before they got me, she did a lot of the gardening, as well as working at Sears. She did, with the garden club, a lot of the gardening here in Kensington Park, as well as here in the backyard. The azaleas that are in the front of the house here came from the old Brown farm all over on Waters. That place no longer exists. I'm trying to think. The old Brown farm on Waters used to be out where the DMV is now. That was the old Brown farm. And in fact, almost all the azaleas that are down Waters Road and what's still here in front of my house are from there. The ligustrums that are in the very back of my house, in the backyard, the very back of the yard, are from the old Brown farm as well. I still have a few of the plants and such. I got some azaleas on the backside of the living room fireplace that are still there, that came from there. When I was growing up, the carport, my father added on the carport and had the driveway cemented back in the 80s. And prior to that, there was a cyclone fencing. And I still have the original gate that was there. Over on the east side of the house, I still have the original gate as well as the cyclone fence. Prior to that, going across on both sides of the house, at the front of the backyard, there wasn't any fencing. The neighbors to the east of me, to the west, and to the south of me are the ones that put up the cyclone fence. And all my dad did was hook his onto that to, enclose the backyard. That way I couldn't get out when I was little.
Sure.
I still did.
Yeah.
At 3 years old, I would go down the street, down to 601, which is where my dad's middle sister and her husband lived, at the double lot down there. My Uncle Lawrence Wolf, had that place looking like a show yard. And he was really proud of it. When he died in the yard, doing what he loved. Before he retired, my Uncle Lawrence Wolf was a railroad engineer, driving the trains. And that's what he had done. And my parents had talked to them about coming out here to Kensington.
So you really did have some extended family members that lived
Yes.
down here.
My mother's brother, my uncle, W.I. Rimley Jr., and his wife, Jean C. Rimley, they bought the house on Oxford, 311 Oxford, in 56. Like I said, my parents were the second to buy out here in 1950, and Pete and Mac McCullough were the first to buy out here. And they're the ones that are responsible for my parents coming out here.
Yeah.
And then I guess Pete and Mac and my parents are responsible for getting the Beckmans, who bought the house at 307 next to us, as well as several of the other people that had lived here on Durin Drive.
Yeah.
I knew everybody that lived here on Durin Drive
I bet.
in this block. At the very beginning, at 301, was Mr. Harmon. That's a double lot. Next to him were the Boyds. Ann Boyd, their daughter, used to babysit me. And then it was the Beckmans, and then Lure and Dolores moved away, and they sold a house to Mr. and Ms. Wagner. And they already had grown kids. Renee is the only one I remember. Once in a great while, Renee would visit her parents, and occasionally she would babysit me. But I just simply adored the Wagners. Mr. Wagner came from Germany, but through England during World War II, and came to the States and settled here. First down in the Victorian district, and then they bought from Lure and Dolores Beckman. But like I said, the Harmons were at the beginning of the block, then the Boyds. Then when my parents first bought out here, was the Beckmans, and then the Wagners. on the other side of us were friends of my parents they also got to buy out here, Booty and Joe. I think their last name was Johnson, but I'm not sure. They had a couple of older children, one of whom I remember the name, her name was Nancy. And then on the other side of them were the Cochrans, Bill and Evelyn Cochran. Mr. Cochran worked with my dad out at the seaboard. Next to them were the Delks. Mr. Delk was a friend of my parents. He and his wife, Muriel Delk. They had 3 kids. The oldest was Glenn. Then they had a middle daughter, and then Lisa, who was my age, or actually slightly older than me. Then next to them was Pete and Mac McCullough at 317. And that was the first, like I said, the first house that was built here. Next to them, it was Mrs. Connor that lived there. Next to her was the Lawless Russell house. Then Mr. and Ms. Johnson was next to them. And then Colonel Jenkins, whose daughter, Roberta, I knew her as Robbie, lived next to them. And then the McLeods. Bill McLeod, Sr. He and his youngest son, Billy, was a good friend of mine. Billy was a year younger, or a year to year and a half younger than me. And then next to them was my aunt and uncle, Lawrence and Bertley Wolf. And then the Lees were in the 700 block,
Yeah.
a little further down.
We've talked about the things that maybe your dad did here. You've been away a couple of times, and coming back, it can be whichever one comes to mind first. What changes in the neighborhood or things next to the neighborhood caught your attention that you both perhaps liked, and maybe something that you didn't care for?
Coming back from college, from up at Bruton Parker, I noticed, the whole area, west, going towards Hunter, as well as going south, was being built up, very much built up. Of course, one of the landmarks out in this area was the big globe, which held gas for this entire area, natural gas. It's no longer used for that.
Yeah.
I think we're alive due to it's not being used.
Probably now, yes.
Hi.
But
We're doing a neighborhood interview thing.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good to see
All
you.
kind of oral history here.
A wealth of
Yes, a wealth of information.
I hope it's not too disjointed.
Oh, we expect this to be, because that's just the way, our minds work.
But there's a lot of things that come into play at various times. That's why a lot of times it seems like it's disjointed.
Oh, yeah.
But that globe was one of the big landmarks out in this area, and whether it was myself or my parents giving directions, they would always mention the big globe,
Sure.
as well as the crystals.
Sure.
Over here, where on Durin, where McDonald's is, used to be a Chevron gas station, and of course, right next to that used to be. Originally, it was Savannah Bank and Trust, and then it became Liberty National Bank. Now it's the SunTrust.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But that bank has been there ever since I can remember.
Sure.
And there used to be across from there used to be some other. I think it was a building that had to do with Bell South, the telephone company. Now it's a Walgreens is there, but it was some other Bell South Telephone Company building, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, of course, now coming back to live in the neighborhood, what kinds of things about being back here do you still like and appreciate? And what things are you so crazy about?
Well,
given that it's changed so much, since.
Yeah. The one thing I don't like is that nobody knows anybody anymore. There really aren't any roots being put down here. Families don't know their neighbors. No one intermingles. There really aren't any kids anymore in the neighborhood. And one of the big things that I have noticed coming back here, or even coming here prior to moving back into the house, when the house was in a trust after my mother died, and prior to me taking over and canceling that trust, it seemed to be very disjointed. What's the word I'm looking for? Transient. It seemed to have the air of transiency. And just, generally a not that close family neighborhood that it used to be. I am glad that there are still some of the old people, some of the old families that either have come back here or are still here. Like I mentioned, Arthur Haseman. His mother, like mine, was fairly big in the neighborhood association. She remained that until she died. And then, from what I understand from a niece of his, he moved back into the house. Now, whether he had a problem with, disrepair or what, I don't know. The Hasemans had always kept up their house really nice. Most of the older people always did.
Sure.
My mother, up until her mind, until she developed Alzheimer's dementia, had kept up the house. And then I tried to do the same, in that, until she died. But my uncle had control of the property and all of that, and there wasn't much that I could do because I didn't have control of it. But I finally got control of my house and property. What was it? August of 14,
Yeah,
John?
I think so.
Yeah, around August of 1914, which my aunt turned over the trust to John, and from there, in I think it was 15, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
September 15 that we finally dissolved the trust,
Yeah, I think so.
and I gained complete control. And that's when I really came in and made a big inspection of the house and found how bad of disrepair that it was in. And I was just very livid and furious. Not just at the tenants that were here at the time, because they didn't help, but also at my uncle and the management company that he had hired. One thing that my parents always did as far as the house was preventive care.
Sure.
And that's it, for as long as I still own the house, that's what I'm going to try to keep up with, is preventive care.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot, just a lot of work, and it's too, I mean, people can pretty easily let a lot of things go because they cost money and take time and all of that.
I have spent almost everything that my parents had saved, as far as money is concerned, in putting it into the house to bring it back from the disrepair. And the tenants that were here at that particular time didn't want me to fix the house at all, period. And I ended up kicking them out. And I was just livid at the condition of my house. And I know that my parents, if they were alive, and had they been in their right minds and such, they would be livid. I wouldn't be surprised if they were turning over in their graves.
Well, you always, just do what you can to restore it. There's certainly been, to some extent, some rental properties in the neighborhood, and not always to the good, in those situations.
Yep.
Sometimes because of tenants, sometimes because of owners, sometimes because of a combination.
That's true.
And because of very poor choice
Of tenants.
contractors
Oh,
doing
contractors.
the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
That too.
But you're probably going through a period of restoring of how you remembered it, but probably there's going to be a point where I got to turn it into what I want. Do you think that's going to happen?
I'm trying to keep pretty much the way it was, but at the same time bring it into the 21st century.
Sure.
I've done that through John's help, changing out plugs and switches, where it's those little flip switches. I've put in some cases dimmer rocker switches. Trying to modernize to a point. I've had suggestions to replace the casement windows and put in more modern windows, and I think that would just absolutely ruin the house. Most of the houses out here had casement windows. Some of them that were built in the 60s didn't, but most of them did, especially down along Durin here. And I think this is one of the last few houses that still has casement windows, as well as casement doorways. All the doorways here in the house, in the main part of the house, are all metal, just like the windows. And actually, the windows came from Miami Hurricane Window Company. So the casement windows are actually hurricane windows. From what I understand from recent discoveries as
Shall we
research.
turn the recorder off?
Yeah, I guess. guess
do
unless
that,
you
we
think
can-
of anything that you wanna end with, these just tend to kind of trail off into whatever, whatever they trail off into.
I don't know. Like I said, the only thing major that I've done to the house is to completely redo the kitchen to where it's fully modern kitchen. I put in a dishwasher, more cabinet space, more counter space, as to where, prior it was a 1950s, 60s kitchen.
But
So-
you talked about doing other things like revising the driveway so that it's a little
Yeah.
more user-friendly.
I am considering in doing that. Up by the house here, where the driveway is, I'm considering in putting in a rockway up to the sidewalk, up to the front sidewalk, so that whether it's us or whomever can just back out there and pull out frontwards out of the driveway. That would definitely be more drive friendly. Same down by the street. I'm considering putting in rock down there, as well as buttressing the hill so that it doesn't erode anymore, which would definitely be a lot better.
Well, houses are like that, you just, it takes years and years, and you do a piece at a time, and then